1997, IBM Deep Blue came up with an algorithm to beat Garry Kasparov, the best chess player in the world.
It might be, let me just move it from.
2016, AlphaGo beats the world's Go champion, Lee Sedol.
Working.
Yeah, it's working. 2017, Google uses the same algorithm that was used in AlphaGo to train robots how to open doors. And in 2019, OpenAI comes up with a development program to steamroll the best Dota 2 players in the world. Now, this is innovation, but what's behind this innovation? That's machine learning and reinforcement learning. To start, what is reinforcement learning? Reinforcement learning is the problem faced by an agent that must be learned through trial and error interactions with a dynamic environment, said Leslie Kielberg, a computer science expert at MIT. So, reinforcement learning is the ability to, before we dive into how reinforcement learning works, we're going to look at the types of problems it solves. So it solves the problems to do with the Markov decision-making process. So the Markov decision-making process is a set of problems that can be solved using the Markov decision-making process can.
Okay, I'm sorry. Don't try to remember things. Just I'm sure you know what exactly you need to say. Just take a deep breath. Everyone here is supporting you. They want you to do great. No one here wants you to do bad. They're all your friends. So just be very comfortable. It's like you're having a conversation, right? The same way you have it in a session. So there's nothing extra about you being standing there. It's literally the same way when you sit down and you're talking. You have a great confidence. You're responding to questions. Just imagine the same situation. You already know that. Just relax and just do it. Go for it.
Okay. The Markov decision-making process is a process that is a mathematical model that helps make decisions where the outcomes are part random and part in control of an agent. So in this process, there's a few things that the AI has to consider. It has to consider the agent, which is the thing doing the actions. It has to consider the state, and it has to consider the reward. So in the Markov decision-making process, there's a few things that make it what it is. There's the agent, which is the thing performing the action. There's the environment that it's in, and there's the state, which is controlled by the actions. So an agent can perform an action in a specific environment, which will change the state and occasionally result in a reward. So in a real-life example of this, we can look at Pong. So in the game of Pong, you have your agent, which is the paddle that you can control, the state, which is the position of the ball, and the relative to the position of the paddle, and you have the actions, which could be up or down. And the reward is plus 1 point or minus 1 point, depending on if the ball passes the paddle or not. So how does reinforcement learning make its decisions? Well, in the past, it's been usually uses Q-learning, which is the decision-making process that'll find the optimal move based on the state. So for every single state there is, it'll find the optimal position and the best way to achieve the most reward. However, in the future, we move more to the policy network. So the policy network will find the percentage chance that it'll pursue each action, and it'll take the highest percentage and perform that action. So say in the game of Pong, if the ball is above the paddle, it'll be probably a 70% chance it'll go up and 30% chance it'll go down. Now, based on the decision it makes, it'll backpropagate and look at the outcome of its decision, and then tweak the neural network to take the actions that resulted in a better outcome more often, and then it'll decrease the the probability that it'll take an action that results in a negative outcome. So in the real world, reinforcement learning has been used in many ways. It's been used to beat the best players in Dota 2, to play chess, it has even been developed to play poker. But most notably, it has been developed to play the game of Go. So in 2015, AlphaGo came out with an algorithm, and it beat its first professional Go player, Fan Hui. This was the first version of AlphaGo, and they called it AlphaGo Fan. In 2016, it beat world champion Lee Sedol. And in 2017, AlphaGo came up with this new algorithm, AlphaGo Zero, that beat all previous versions of AlphaGo. And it became the best player and reached a ELO rating of above 5,000, which we will eventually see here, which makes it the best player in the world. And just 3 months ago, the World Go champion, Lee Sedol, actually quit the game of Go because it considered artificial intelligence to be completely unbeatable. So what are the downsides of reinforcement learning? One of the downsides of reinforcement learning is the time. It takes a ton of time to train the models. So say you're playing a game of Monopoly, and all you know are the rules and the actions that you can take. And say you're playing your friend. It's going to take you forever to be good. You're going to be terrible at the start. It's going to take a lot of games, and because Monopoly is so long, it's going to take forever for you to learn and to get good at the game. Now, this is the same for reinforcement learning. When we're teaching an algorithm, all we give them is the actions they can perform and the rules of the game, nothing else. And then from there, they have to learn completely from scratch on what the goal of the game is and how to achieve that and the best strategies that they're using to do that. So this obviously takes a lot of time, but luckily computers can work 24/7 and they don't have to take breaks. Another thing that we've developed is we can get reinforcement learning networks to learn together. So we can train 3 robots at a time, and it'll train 3 times faster than if you were to train just one singular robot at a time. So I'm sure we've all seen this at some point. The no internet symbol, whether that be at school with the terrible internet, or maybe perhaps at like TKS when the codes don't work.
Yeah.
But basically, this is like, for my replicate, I'm gonna try and build an algorithm that'll help play this game. And then in a part 2 of my focus presentation, I'll explain to you how my algorithm works and all the details behind what made it and what got it to play the game and be so good. Thank you.